these ancient prophecies telling us that the world will be transformed.
Wacky world of Wilcock, where make-believe is real. It's the wacky world of Wilcock. How much money can he steal? It's the wacky world of Wilcock, where make-believe is real. It's the wacky world of Wilcock. How much money can he steal? He makes all this stuff up and claims that it's all true. The aliens want to eat us. Be careful that they don't get you. It's the wacky world of Wilcock, where make-believe is real. It's the wacky world of Wilcock. How much money can you steal? It's the wacky world of Wilcock, where make-believe is real. It's the wacky world of Wilcock. How much money can you steal?
This is where if I have a live audience, I get everybody to hug each other. I say, give your neighbor a handshake or a hug, whatever you feel is appropriate to you. And that way everybody feels the love a little more. I will never believe it, I will never believe it. Okay, that's fine. Maybe you need 25,000 more years, I don't know, buddy. But look, this is really compelling information, and it's going to get a lot more intense. It's coming up in a couple days here on Sunday, so if you haven't already signed up, we have reopened the cart. We still have the payment plan in place.
Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back. I want to apologize because our guest tonight, Matthew Riot, had to reschedule last minute. So this was a developing story that we're going to bring you instead tonight. Some of you may remember that David Wilcock, everyone's favorite clown star of Ancient Aliens, former, last year claimed that he had cracked the code. Remember, he has an IQ of 180, which would make him, according to his own claims, that is, which would make him smarter than Einstein. So this man who claims he's smarter than Einstein claims that he's cracked the code to both free energy and anti-gravitic technology. But then he claims that he's going to copy someone else's patent in order to make these hover cars. Almost a year ago now, friends, David Wilcock claimed that they would have a working hover car prototype by right around now. And it's interesting that David Wilcock has not only not produced a working prototype, but now he's talking about he's 3 weeks behind on his latest live stream. 3 weeks ago, he promised a new live stream on Sunday where he would show an animation of the hover car. But that's not quite what David Wilcock promised. He promised a working prototype by now. Now, some of you may recall that I called bull on that claim. And we also discussed how it is completely and totally illegal to just take someone else's patent, develop a product with it, and start selling a commercial product based on someone else's patent. Patents exist for a reason. It's to protect the intellectual property and technology of their inventor. So even if hey, I'll go out on a limb. Let's pretend that the Salvador Pius anti-gravity technology is absolutely a workable technology. Something I don't believe, because if it were, Salvador Pius would have at least a technology demonstration to show us of this so-called anti-gravity patent in working operation. He doesn't. But David Wilcock, remember, the guy smarter than Einstein, already decided that this technology is absolutely real and workable. And he was going to take Salvador Pius' patent and create a working hover car prototype within 1 year. And who was his partner in this adventure? A company called Stevati Aerospace, who has essentially been soliciting investor money for many, many years. They call themselves an aircraft manufacturer. However, in all the years that Stevati Aerospace has been soliciting investors, they have yet to produce, to my knowledge, a single working prototype aircraft. They have yet to produce a video or a picture of a working actual airplane. So this gets really, really ridiculous. And we have discussed in the past how I really believe that karma has had its way with David Wilcock, because it is my personal belief, based on all available evidence, that David Wilcock has been simply selling people fake stories and lying to people for decades now. That's how he became wealthy. He became wealthy by using fake sources, fake information, fake alien stories, fake government whistleblowers, and more. And he has bilked the public for millions of dollars, I believe, with his garbage courses on Ascension. By the way, nobody ever ascended who took a Ascension course from David Wilcock, but somehow my favorite was his last course called The Disclosure, where David Wilcock claimed the disclosure has already happened. Here's working anti-gravity technology. And then he charged $333. And during the run-up to that course, he said, and I quote, "If you take my course, you will be able to do it too. You'll be able to create anti-gravity and free energy." But as expected, nobody that gave David Wilcock $333 for his latest course, where he claims he's going to teach everybody the secrets of anti-gravity and free energy technology, has been able to display any working free energy or anti-gravitic technology. And in fact, I'm aware that Jeremy Rise, alien scientist, and some of his scientist friends all pitched in and paid for the course. And what I was told is that it was a cobbled together mess of garbage from all over the internet. There was no new information. There was no, demonstrations that David Wilcock is right and this technology works. But David Wilcock is claiming that the technology he was going to copy from someone else's patent would enable him to create a working hover car prototype. He went on to brag that his working hover car prototype wouldn't even need fuel because it would be powered by a free energy device. Friends, never in the history of all the promises of free energy devices has anyone delivered a working, testable, measurable free energy device. But that world is rife with scammers claiming that they were going to create a free energy device. Never in the history of someone promising anti-gravity technology or that they had anti-gravity technology has anyone displayed actual working anti-gravity technology. So when you put those two promises together, he's going to bring you both anti-gravity technology and free energy technology together. You're going to have a hover car and you won't even need to put fuel in it. Friends, all of these promises made right around the time he's selling a course, also promising to teach people the secrets of anti-gravity and free energy technology, and quote, "you'll be able to do it too," unquote, has led me to the determination that this latest course of David Wilcock's is a scam. And I'm very careful with using that word, given legal threats that we have been under. I used to be much freer with my language here, but I had learned over the course of, I don't know, lots of angry lawyer letters claiming I'm slandering somebody for saying the word scam, to be very careful with that word. But in this case, I'm going to use that word. Now, Stravati Aerospace is also interesting because there is someone on the board of Stravati called Bill McEwen. And we have outlined here in the past that Bill McEwen was the one-time owner of Amiga Incorporated. He bought the corpse, what was left of the Amiga company after it went bankrupt. You may remember Commodore 64s and Amigas People loved those computers. So people were willing to give that guy a chance. And for a decade, that guy promised new Amiga computers, a new operating system. And essentially all he did was lie to everyone, collect money, and never deliver anything. And that guy from Amiga Technologies is on the board of Stevati. This is very, very suspect. That company is very, very suspect. After all, they've been making all kinds of promises that they're going to create super incredible advanced aircraft for, I believe, more than a decade now, and have never produced a single working prototype that they can flight test or show being flight tested. But that hasn't stopped them from continuing to solicit investors to invest money with their company. Now, we recently detailed how I was, at least someone told me, you know what, we're not even going to get into that. Let's get into the facts that we do know. David Wilcock has claimed that he has invested a lot of his money. In fact, he has said he's invested all of his money into this, what I believe to be very shady company, Stevati Aerospace, who essentially has done nothing but show very nice computer generated images of high-tech airplanes that they claim that they're building prototypes of. And there have been many iterations of this company and many different projects that they claimed that they were developing. Once they even were caught saying that they were developing a laser weapon for the United States military. It turns out someone in the United States military got wind of their claims, and they were forced to take that off their website because it turned out to be complete horseshit. They were never developing any weapon for the United States government, laser or otherwise. So what we get is an ancient aliens theorist that I believe has been lying to people and filling his pockets full of UFO dollars for many, many years now. And we also get a company that has been promising it's developing these super advanced aircraft that are going to be so much better than anything out there for over a decade and never produced a single prototype. And we put those two together, and David Wilcock apparently invests an awful lot of money and suddenly becomes the company, Stevati Aerospace's director of advanced technology. But it gets better. I reached out to this CEO, Chris Beskar, and asked some questions on the phone once. And before he realized who I was, he called me back and started answering questions. But then he said something like, wait a minute, you're Steve Campion? Is that what you said your name is? And I said, yeah. And then he said, I can't answer any more questions, and hung up on me. So I encouraged other people, since they've kind of gotten wind of our show here. They're aware that we're covering what a joke their company is. David Wilcock is aware that we cover him and the wacky world of Wilcock. So they clammed up. They don't want to answer my questions. I encouraged other people. You go. His email is public. The phone number is public. Anybody can call them. And by the way, let's be clear here. I'm not encouraging anyone to, harass anybody or anything like that. I'm encouraging people to ask questions. After all, this is a company that is begging for investors to invest money in their incredible technology that they can't show anyone. Over a decade, we're developing this incredible technology. Not a single working aircraft, not a single working airplane, not a single even technology demonstrator, not a single real physical thing, except that David Wilcock 3D printed a bunch of what looked like G.I. Joe airplane toys. And then David Wilcock called those the prototypes. And if you listen to David Wilcock talk, their airplanes are worlds cheaper to produce and worlds better. They have better cargo capacity, better fuel, all of these incredible promises. And remember, this is where it gets really dicey for them. They're making all of these incredible claims, including David Wilcock, a board member of their company, while they're soliciting public investors, is telling people, we have cracked the code of anti-gravity. We have cracked the code of free energy technology, and we will have a working hover car within a year. And David Wilcock, an officer of this company, is on record. We have the clips of him saying this stuff while they are soliciting investors to invest with their company. This, my friends, is a nightmare for them, or it could be. After all, someone who invests money based on these pie-in-the-sky promises can come to me or someone else and get clips of an officer of their company promising a working hover car prototype within a year. By the way, tick-tock, David Wilcock, time's up. Where's the hover car? Oh, you're going to show us an animation of it. Well, that's not what you said. It's taken you a year to do an animation of a hover car that you promised would be in real and prototype form by this time last year. You said 1 year. It's been about a year, David Wilcock. Where's the hover car that you promised everyone? Where's the hover car that you were telling potential investors about? Does the SEC know? And by the way, in this email exclusive, this is another Truth Seekers exclusive story. We're getting good at doing these. We're going to be sharing information no one else has, no one else is aware of. Another Truth Seekers exclusive. And in this email we will share, they mentioned the private investment firm that is handling investors that want to invest in their shady aerospace company that's promising people hover cars, that has the guy from Ancient Aliens on their board as the director of advanced technology. So I haven't had a chance to do it yet, but all of you have my word. First thing tomorrow, I am going to call that investment company. I'm going to offer to send them the clips of the promises that David Wilcock is publicly promising. And we also have to be aware that David Wilcock, when you buy his $333 course, behind his paywall is telling people that the CEO of that company, Chris Beskar, was in the secret space program, and he developed secret spaceships for the United States government and the Secret Space Force. This is a legal nightmare for them, or it could be. You cannot say things that are completely and totally false and untrue while you're soliciting public investors to invest in your company. If you were a potential investor, what are they telling you? Publicly, we're going to have a working hover car prototype within 1 year, and it's not even going to need fuel. It's going to have a free energy device for its fuel source. You won't even need to fuel it. You can plug your house. You can power your whole house from it too. You won't even have to put gasoline or electricity into it. It's free energy. It's free energy. This hover car we've got a prototype for coming. I wonder if the people investing in this company, by the way, the minimum investment is $50,000. I wonder if the people investing in this company are aware that they are promising a hover car prototype with a working free energy device as a power source. You won't even have to power the hover car or put any fuel into it. And let's see, I wonder if investors are aware that the former star of Ancient Aliens is on the board, and he's doing $333 courses where behind the paywall, he's telling everybody that the CEO of this company that he's on the board of was a secret space program guy who created secret spaceships for the Secret Space Force. And friends, one has to ask themselves, if this shady aerospace company has been promising all of these high-tech things for over a decade, to my knowledge, and have yet to produce a single working prototype, have yet to test flight any of their, and they got a whole bunch of models, right, of all these advanced aircraft that they're developing prototypes for. We're going to go through the handout they're giving investors, and it is a laugh riot, friends. But back to this Beskar, it's going to be extremely problematic for them. David Wilcock promising people that this guy was developing spaceships for a secret space program and black budget projects and secret government projects. None of that can be proven. But these are now claims made by an officer of this company that is soliciting public investments. And what, my friends, are the odds that this company that couldn't even manage to build an airplane years ago, according to David Wilcock, already produced all these super advanced spaceships that didn't use rocket technology? They used electrogravitics and ultra high technology, plasma, and all this nonsense that he's telling people in this $333 course. What are the odds that this company that can't even build an airplane is building super advanced spaceships for a secret space force for the government that don't even use super high tech propulsion systems nobody's ever heard of? And, you know, all of this, it's nonsense. It's absolute garbage, just like the rest of David Wilcock's stories, you know, about talking to the Archangel Michael and channeling Jesus Christ, right? And he also channeled the Egyptian god Ra for a while. Remember that? I do want to take a moment to thank and recognize we have Road Stub S, who just became a YouTube channel member. Thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. It is much, much appreciated. I am Fanuel says, here's the tweet. Hello, tender soul. Thank you for supporting David. Yes, it's always best to donate at David's official website. PayPal button at the bottom of the cart page. That's from David's support team. What are we donating? We're donating so that David Wilcock can live in $1 million mansion and lie through his fake teeth to people. Is that why we're donating? I'm a little confused because we have detailed that David Wilcock collected, what was it, $175,000 or more for his so-called charity, and then he did absolutely zero charitable work with all of that money he collected. And we detailed that David Wilcock loves expensive things. One year, from the money that people donated to his charity, he spent $4,000 of that charity's money that people donated, thinking he's doing charitable work, on meals and entertainment. Great. Yeah, so we're gonna show you, and again, this is a Truth Seekers exclusive story. If you're just joining us, we're talking about David Wilcock's hover car claims. You're watching Truth Seekers here, where we bring you new exclusive information no one else has. We try to make a habit of that here. So I mentioned that I once spoke with Christopher Beskar and asked some questions, and then when he realized who I was, he quickly refused to answer any more questions. So I encouraged others to call or write emails and ask questions. Questions like, where's the money that David Wilcock is investing coming from? Is that coming from his charity or his for-profit company? How much money has David Wilcock invested in your company? Because he's telling everybody he invested all of his money. And I didn't get a straight answer out of Andrew Beskar, but a friend of our show here did get an answer, right? And 1 second, I just want to make sure. We have a friend of the show here who has reached out to Andrew Beskar, the CEO of the shady company that David Wilcock invested all his money in. I don't know how to say it, but it's supposedly from Dune. Fedaykin reached out, or Fedaykin, Fedaykin. We want to thank them for their being a fellow truth seeker and trying to help us to get to the truth. Since Andrew Beskar won't answer my questions, it's great that some viewers of our show here have pitched in and they started asking questions. So we have an exclusive email from Andrew Beskar after somebody started asking a lot of questions about David Wilcock's involvement in his company. Sandy says he's still hanging out with squirrels. Last I checked, he is, yes. And he's trying to figure out how to explain away that he promised everybody a year ago there'd be a working hover car prototype, and he doesn't have shit. He can't even get an animation going to show people. Great. Great. And we want to thank Lord Ludacris for a kind and generous $1.99. And he says, didn't he use GoFundMe to scam people too? Yes, we detailed a GoFundMe scam that was headed by David Wilcock for his fake whistleblower, in which they claimed that the men in black were riding over this guy's house with bulldozers and destroying everything he owns and all of these fake stories. And the police were, entering his home and all this stuff. And there was a GoFundMe which raised $60,000, largely from the UFO community. And every word in the text body of the GoFundMe was false. There were fake stories about this fake whistleblower of his, Pete Peterson. It turned out that Pete Peterson, for years, the bank was telling him they were foreclosing on his home. They had already foreclosed on the home, and here comes David Wilcock saying, we've got to save him and help him, fight back the banks and get his home back. There was no saving that home. It was already foreclosed on. And at that point, they were just telling him to get his shit out of the house. And they gave him ample opportunity to get his things out of the house. He never did. So the bank went in and paid people to clean it out. And yes, they started throwing his stuff in dumpsters. And we also heard reports that the house was a hoarder nightmare mess, and it was filled. David Wilcock claimed that the contents of that home were worth millions of dollars, all this scientific equipment. But it turns out mostly what was in that fake whistleblower's home, the senile fake whistleblower of his, Pete Peterson, what was actually in the home was dead cats and bottles of piss everywhere. Great. So according to David Wilcock, dead cats and bottles of piss are worth millions of dollars. But this is the wacky world of Wilcock. And David Wilcock also took part in a PayPal donation scam for Emery Smith, in which they told everybody that Emery Smith was under deep state attack, and they showed pictures of him in the hospital. But it turned out that his one-time, let's just call him father-in-law, turned on him and told the truth. Emery Smith, while they were collecting over $50,000 in PayPal donations for Emery Smith telling fake stories with David Wilcock, what actually happened is Emery Smith apparently got alcohol poisoning. So it wasn't the deep state attacking Emery Smith. It was a bottle of vodka. And he ended up in the hospital. They took pictures of it. They took pictures of a bullet on a counter and his house rifled through, and claimed that he was under attack by the men in black, and you got to donate money. Because somehow, if the men in black from the government are out to get you, money will stop them. Sure, there have been various scams that David Wilcock has taken part in. So forgive me if I assume that this latest, course he's selling is another scam. And forgive me if David Wilcock's involvement in this shady company that already has shady people in it, including Bill McEwen, look him up and look up the Amiga fiasco. That guy promised all kinds of stuff for a decade, never delivered anything. Never delivered anything. He's on the board along with David Wilcock. Those two belong together. So people will have to excuse me if I assume that Stavati Aerospace, since David Wilcock is involved, is a scam, just like all of David Wilcock's other send me money scams, like his charity that I believe was a scam. Based on his own filings, he didn't do any charitable work. Out of, I believe it was, and don't quote me, over $175,000 he collected in a few years. He gave just a few $1,000s to other charities, but he didn't actually do any charity. According to his own IRS filings, apparently he spent all that money on himself. He bought software and equipment. And how do we differentiate? Because according, I guess he's using that equipment that he purchased for his charity to do for-profit streams on YouTube where people are sending him money, and it becomes a tax nightmare for him. And by the way, David Wilcock already, at the time he formed his charity, had a IRS tax lien on him for, I believe, if I recall correctly, $50,000 for unpaid income taxes. Great. So we are going to share this from a kind friend and show viewer who kindly asked Chris Beskar some questions about David Wilcock, Stevati Aerospace, the hover cars, and David Wilcock's involvement, how much money he donated. And wow, this email from the CEO of Stevati Aerospace is chock full of fun information. Let's get into it, friends. And again, this is from Chris Beskar, the CEO of Stevati Aerospace, where David Wilcock is now the Director of Advanced Technology. And this email reads, "Thank you for your email message regarding Stevati's Director of Advanced Technologies, David Wilcock. David Wilcock joined Stevati Aerospace Ltd. In an official capacity some years ago and officially became a shareholder in April of 2019 as shareholder number 28. While I'm not at liberty to disclose the exact amount of stock David owns, it is in excess of 10 million shares of Stevati Aerospace Ltd. Common stock with voting rights. David has invested, and here's where it gets good, friends. David has invested well over $1 million into Stevati Aerospace Ltd., which has benefited Stevati in terms of real estate acquisition, the acquisition of physical manufacturing assets, as well as prototype and development production costs. All the funds invested have been received from all the funds invested have been received from his for-profit enterprises from him personally and not a 501c3 or other nonprofit entity." So there, we have an answer to one of my questions. Is he investing money from his charity into a for-profit aerospace company? Apparently, he's investing money from his personal money and his for-profit company, not his charity that he collected over $175,000 for and then did no charity work. Beskar goes on to write, "Stevati does not accept investment from nonprofit organizations, only accredited investors, qualified lenders, and qualified investment entities, institutions. In the general, the claims David may have made regarding his investment is accurate, as he is a shareholder. He has invested in Stevati along with a number of other private investors and shareholders and does hold the position of, quote, Director of Advanced Technology." It's great. A guy who claims that he's smarter than Einstein and has a 180 IQ, a guy who channels the Egyptian god Ra, a guy who talks to the Archangel Michael all the time, is the Director of Advanced Technology for this company within our organization. David is working directly on the study, analysis, and development of advanced propulsion systems, among other projects. David has been very dedicated to the advancement of aviation and aerospace technology and should be considered a hero in the eyes of anyone who is passionate about aerospace technology and how to advance well beyond the current state of the art. So David Wilcock is a hero to the aerospace technology industry, according to their CEO. With respect to investment opportunities with Stevati, Stevati Aerospace Limited is a privately held C corporation. We are undertaking multiple new aircraft development projects, some of which are being conducted simultaneously. So the company that can't produce one single airplane prototype is working on a whole bunch of prototypes at once. We are undertaking those projects as standalone ventures whereby projects are funded on a project-by-project basis. At this time, we have projects which require total development costs ranging from $10 million to $4 billion, depending upon the project type. This guy with David Wilcock on the board telling people they cracked. Listen, if they cracked anti-gravity and free energy technology, they wouldn't need $10 million to $4 billion in investment, I'll tell you that. These projects are funded through either equity or debt financing. Stevati is raising a portion of the total development cost for each individual project through an offering equity or debt investment opportunities to private, qualified, accredited investors. Stevati is not a publicly traded company at this time, and we may never be publicly traded, remaining a privately held corporation owned by our shareholders. Generally speaking, we do have active private investment opportunities for accredited investors in specific projects, and those investment opportunities are presented to qualified investors by private placement memorandums or private investor presentation packages. Many of the individuals who may reach out to David as potential investors do not qualify as accredited investors and therefore cannot participate at this time. We appreciate their interest, but Stevati by law must limit our investment offering to accredited investors. Furthermore, our principal offering at this time is being managed by Del Morgan and Company, a private investment banking firm based in Santa Monica, California. Parties interested in participating in investors in Stevati are encouraged to contact Del Morgan and Company, and we are happy to provide that contact information to any qualified accredited investor. Well, I'm sure if anybody wants to invest in this shady company, you can look that up on Google. You'll find them. I did. I'm going to be calling them and asking them some questions. The letter here from Christopher Beskar goes on to state, regarding the scope of investment, usually the minimum investment amount in any Stevati project is $50,000 or more for an accredited investor, but each opportunity has its own requirements and budget. As our minimum project size is $10 million, in reality, the minimum investment level that most investors participate at is $1 million or more. And this company got $1 million of David Wilcock's money. Oh, poor David Wilcock. He's going to lose every penny in this stupid company. That's karma, friends. Finally, the letter goes on to state, to have a better understanding of the current state of Stevati, our leadership, and our ongoing projects, I've attached a copy of our Stevati Aerospace web briefing for August 2022. We're going to get the web briefing, friends. We're going to share it with you. You will find David Wilcock identified as a member of our leadership team with the title of Director of Advanced Technology on page 3 of the 58-page briefing. Oh, it's a briefing. Oh, they all love briefings, friends. Remember, David Wilcock's getting briefings from government people, from secret space program insiders, from generals, right? They all get briefings and they get intel. This is a 58-page briefing. All right, finally, it says, to learn more about Stevati investment opportunities for accredited investors, you may complete the attached proprietary information agreement and return it to us by email. Upon receipt of the PIA, we can provide additional information. And if there are qualified individuals who are interested in becoming Stevati investors, we will be happy to engage them on an individual basis, with the understanding that each individual potential investor must complete the attached PIA prior to receiving investment materials from Stevati. I hope this message helps to clarify our relationship with David Wilcock and his role as an investor, shareholder, director, and he's an innovator with Stevati. Best regards, Christopher Beskar, President and CEO of Stevati Aerospace. So here, friends, we have the confirmation that David Wilcock has invested $1 million into this shady company that has lied and said they were developing laser weapons for the United States military. That wasn't true. And David Wilcock has invested $1 million with this shady company that also includes, as I said, Bill McEwen, who has a history of, let's just say, investment. Bill McEwen has a history of soliciting investor money and never producing what he promises. And he's also on the board of this company. He did that for a decade with Amiga Incorporated. Look it up. Now is where it gets really fun, because we get to see the Stevati briefing that talks all about all of their advanced technology. And honestly, friends, it's a laugh riot. If you like cartoon pictures of high-tech aircraft, you'll love this briefing, because apparently that's all they have. And by the way, I did send this document, which I'm going to be sharing. I shared this document with an actual, real, verifiable aircraft designer. And when he was done laughing, he called me back and he said, "This is the stupidest thing I've ever seen, because all they have here apparently are pretty pictures." And what he explained to me is that in this briefing, they are showing so many different aircraft that Boeing would not be able to do this, that Lockheed Martin would not be able to do this. You know, in other words, in order to claim that you're developing a prototype and to show investors, you have to have real designs. You have to have blueprints that would take months, in some cases years, just for the blueprints. But we're supposed to believe that Stevati Aerospace, who has been soliciting investor donations for a decade or more and never produced any workable technology or any airplanes or any flight tests, somehow is simultaneously developing all of these different prototypes. And one of those prototypes is a hover car. Great, great. So according to a real aircraft designer, this briefing is garbage. It's garbage. And you know, here I have to rely on the expertise of, I'm not an aircraft designer. I don't know. For all I know, this is legitimate. But according to a real aircraft designer, no way. This is all pie in the sky. You know, this is big dreams and nothing to show for it. That's what I was told. Take from that what you will. So here is, oh, you know what? 1 second. This is the Stevati Aerospace briefing. Oh, what? 1 second, actually. I'm sharing the wrong tab. This is from their website. Let me, 1 second. Let me make sure. Let me make sure I'm sharing the PDF that they're sharing with potential investors. And if you have $50,000, or God forbid, if you have $1 million to waste, like David Wilcock, you too can invest. So this is the Stevati Aerospace briefing. And, you know, like I said, friends, here is the designs that they claim that they're developing prototypes for. And again, go talk to a real aerospace engineer. Lockheed Martin is not developing 8 prototypes at once. And by the way, there's more than 8. This is just the first 8 that they show you. You know, this is not how this works. This is not how any of this works. So we've got SM-50, a 2-place sport plane, SM-27, Machete, close air support, SM-28, also Machete, close air support. Well, those two are about the same, but different pictures. SM-31, Stiletto, trainer, and light fighter. And by the way, these are jet aircraft, friends. Do you have any idea how much it takes to prototype and develop a jet aircraft? Yeah, it's a lot more than $1 million that David Wilcock invested. Here we have SM-47, Super Machete Air Defense Fighter, SM-100, this STOL Intermodal Transport. We have SM-36, Stalma Multi-Role Fighter, SM-39, Razor Air Dominance Fighter. That one looks exactly like a Buck Rogers spaceship. Look it up, friends. Go look up Buck Rogers spaceship. That's a Buck Rogers spaceship right there, friends. And here we mentioned, this is Bill McEwen, COO and Deputy CEO. So the second in charge of Stevati Aerospace is a guy who was sued by his investors, I believe, with Amiga Incorporated, and solicited investor money from investors for Amiga Incorporated for years, and never produced what he promised. And in fact, the company that was developing the next generation Amiga Incorporated operating system sued him because he never paid them for all the work they did to develop this next generation operating system. And they, the company that he never paid, now own Amiga operating system 4.0. And that company is called Hyperion Entertainment. They sued this guy, Bill McEwen, because he never paid them. And it was such, it was amazing. actually, because essentially Bill McEwen contracted a company full of programmers, made them work for, I think it was more than a year or two, to develop an operating system for his company. Then he never paid them. Then Bill McEwen sued Hyperion. Hyperion sued Bill McEwen. Eventually they had to settle. And what ended up happening is the company that actually did the work that Bill McEwen's company never paid them for ended up owning the rights to the operating system because it was their work. They developed it, and Bill McEwen never paid them. Great. That's the guy who is the second in charge of this shady company. And here, of course, we have David Wilcock with that famous picture that's from like 15 or 20 years ago that he loves, that headshot. He's still using it. David Wilcock is listed as the director of advanced technology. Sure he is. Come on, Christopher Beskar, show us some advanced technology that David Wilcock has developed or directed for your shady company. Okay, well, here's where it does get interesting. They did actually, look, 2014, but I believe there was some form of Stavati before this current incarnation. I could be wrong, but I believe there was. The current incarnation was founded in April 2014, which means we've got, 8 years now of not actually having any products developed. But for 8 years, they have been soliciting investment money. What does that tell you, friends? That for 8 years, they've been trying to get people to invest money with them and have gotten people to invest money with them, but they have not produced a single saleable product. They have not produced any profit, to my knowledge, in 8 years. All they've done is solicit investor money and spend investors' money. I'd like to know who's buying Christopher Beskar's groceries for the past 8 years. Because I don't know about you, friends, but if I didn't work for 8 years and I was just developing a company for 8 years, I'm assuming that he's taking some kind of paycheck from investor money while he hasn't produced a single working prototype aircraft or a single flight test or a single piece of technology that he's been promising. Then they reorganized and they became a Wyoming C Corporation. And my little knowledge of business, friends, tells me that they did that so that they could solicit public investor money or more investor money, right? And so they bought an abandoned aircraft hangar at the Niagara Falls International Airport on the 30th of October. And yes, it is 19.8 acres. And I'm assuming, according to David Wilcock, they pretty much purchased that airplane hangar with David Wilcock's $1 million. I would love to know what they paid for it. And we're going to try to find that out for you. So here is some more information on their fake airplanes. I'm sorry, I'm calling them fake airplanes. Until I see a real one, they're fake airplanes, right? And here we have some really nonsense comparisons, right? Yeah. A single engine, non-afterburning, turbofan powered, close air support and lead-in trainer, armed with a 30-millimeter cannon and able to carry 12,000 pounds of stores. The SM-28 has a maximum speed of 0.90 Mach, so it can't even go beyond the speed of sound. It is, yeah. And I was wrong, so I apologize. It's not a jet aircraft. It's a turbofan aircraft, which is essentially a prop in a tube, for those unaware of these terms. Heavily armored, the SM-28 can replace the A-10 and all other subsonic CAS aircraft with greater effectiveness, efficiency, and survivability. $20 million. That's what they say it's going to cost. And friends, go look up what it costs to manufacture a similar airplane, an A-10 Warthog. You know what? We'll do it in real time. A-10 Warthog cost. Let's see if we can find that out. Then we get a sense of what they're promising. Okay. 1 second. I'm having a little bit of trouble. How much? Oh, 1 second. I think I found it. Okay, so a Warthog costs $18.8 million. Theirs costs more than a Warthog, but it's supposed to be better. So, you know. And then we have more pie in the sky, pretty pictures of airplanes. This one's my favorite. This one only costs $85,000, friends. Go look what a single engine airplane costs. This is another pie in the sky garbage promise that they're never going to fulfill. A two-seat sport plane for $85,000, that's less than the cost of a new Corvette, friends. This is a real problem. And it only costs $46 an hour to fly it. It's a sport plane. And notice how everything looks real high tech, right? But they don't have anything to show you. All of this is computer generated graphics. They don't have one real airplane. High performance sport plane. It's again a turboprop. Looks like an air jet, but it isn't. It's just a propped airplane. And here we have advanced 5th generation supersonic trainer and light fighter. Oh, and here's another thing. They're telling people that these prototypes have cannons on them. Friends, as a private company, you can't just go buy. What did they say? That just occurred to me. That's another garbage. This is so stupid. You can't just go buy a 30 millimeter cannon and put it on an airplane. You can't do that, friends. You need a government contract to do that. You need, military. Oh, this is all just so stupid. They're telling people that they're putting 30 millimeter cannons on their fake prototype airplanes. Oh, okay. We were up to this one. This is the Stiletto supersonic trainer, $18 million. And it's afterburning turbofan trainer and light fighter. And this is another jet aircraft they're developing. And listen, like I said, go talk to somebody that's really in the aircraft industry. A company does not develop all these prototypes at once. Even Lockheed Martin does not do that. This is absolutely pie in the sky garbage. This is the delusional fantasies of a wannabe aerospace CEO. But they don't have anything. They got a lot of pretty pictures here, but they don't have anything, not one prototype. And look at all these models, right? So basically what they got is, 20 or 30 really nice pictures of these super advanced looking aircraft that they can't show anybody because they don't exist. Just like David Wilcock's hover car he promised us would be ready about now, this time last year. That doesn't exist either, friends. This is fantasy. This one's my favorite. This is the one that I believe is copied from Buck Rogers. The SM-39 Razor is a 6th generation twin-engine air superiority and air dominance fighter designed for both land and carrier-based operations. Powered by 2 next-generation variable cycle afterburning turbofans, the SM-39 will have a maximum level speed in excess of Mach 4.0. And again, where are the prototypes? You're telling everybody this thing's going to have a speed in excess of Mach 4.0. That would be faster than, I believe, the Oxcart, the Blackbird. Go look up the Blackbird. They're promising that this is a Blackbird level of technology and flight. Is Christopher Beskar aware that the fuselage of this entire thing would have to be built from titanium in order to even make flights at that speed even possible? But these are the things that, delusional people don't think of. Oh, here we go again, friends. This is the Buck Rogers spaceship. And I'm telling you, we can look up Buck Rogers. It looks just like, to me, it looks like Buck Rogers spaceship. Oh, it's close enough. Well, it looks pretty similar. I'll say it looks pretty similar to a Buck Rogers spaceship. These guys are promising people a Buck Rogers spaceship. That's what it looks like to me. And here's where it gets even crazier. Not only are they developing 20 or so, maybe I've lost count how many super advanced aircraft they are all developing prototypes for. They're also developing spaceships. But here's where it gets stupid. David Wilcock is promising people behind his $333 paywall that Andrew Bhaskar was a member of the secret space program, and he developed spaceships for the secret space program that didn't use rocket technology, but used all this super advanced physics and propulsion systems. Then why are they developing rocket technology? That makes no sense, David Wilcock. You've just contradicted your own bullshit stories here. This is a real problem. And these are launch vehicles. So not only are they going to compete with Lockheed Martin and all of the Boeing and all of the greatest aerospace companies that are designing and actually manufacturing real aircraft, they're going to compete with Boeing, Lockheed Martin, and other aerospace giants. They're also going to compete with Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos' company and Virgin Galactic, and they're going to enter the private space industry. Friends, do you have any idea how much money it takes to develop a launch-capable rocket vehicle? It's in the billions, I would think. And we're all just supposed to believe that if you invest in this company that David Wilcock spent $1 million on, they're going to develop all of these super advanced aircraft, and they're going to build a rocket ship too. David Wilcock's company is going to build a rocket ship, but that's not all, folks. There's more, because David Wilcock's company is also going to build a hover car. And all they have is a drawing, friends. That's all they have. That's all David Wilcock has. After a year and promising people they would have a working prototype. And by the way, I will eat my own shoes if David Wilcock tomorrow comes out with a working prototype. I will apologize to David Wilcock for being a negative Nelly and saying this is all bull. And I will eat my own shoes live on our show. Okay? I will do that. That's my promise to you. This is garbage. This is the delusional fantasies of a guy who spent too long in UFO land. I don't even know what this means. Maximum speed of 250 ktas, a range of 2,500 nanometers, ceiling limited to 5,000 feet. A mass market consumer product, the hover car will benefit from advanced propulsion. Great. Can you tell us about the advanced propulsion that your hover car is going to use? Of course not, because according to David Wilcock, they're just going to steal patents from the United States Navy. And the Navy is just going to let them steal patented technology that the Navy has already patented. And by the way, that's even if it works. And I don't believe that that is workable real technology. Because if it was, Salvador Payas would be able to show us at least a technology demonstrator. Oh, and it's a 4-seater, so you can take your whole family around in your personal air vehicle for the 2030s, right? But here, friends, here is where it gets really nutty. Human spaceflight. Stavati's vision includes the design and production of interplanetary and interstellar spacecraft. That's right. You know, all those things that even NASA, with the full support of the Federal Reserve and the United States government funding them, can't do. Stavati's going to do what NASA, what Russia, what China, and every other nation on Earth with a space program could never do. And that is the design and the production of interplanetary and interstellar spacecraft. Stavati is pioneering advanced fusion propulsion and Starship enabling technologies. So, you know, it's getting pretty thick in here. Not only are they designing and producing, 20 different super advanced airplanes, and they're building rocket ships, and they're building hover cars. They're also pioneering advanced fusion propulsion and starship enabling technologies. Friends, go look up fusion propulsion. Just look it up and then come back to me and let me know if you think that David Wilcock's shady company here is really developing fusion propulsion. This is garbage. But there's more, friends. Their interplanetary vehicles will include orbital shuttles, moon Mars transports, and space fighters. Stavati's long-range vision concentrates on interstellar spaceships for human spaceflight. And it's important to realize, friends, this is what they're telling investors in their company. But they may be able to get away with that because they're not a public company. They're a private company that you can invest in. Okay, Stavati's proposed, I think it's a $2 million plant, will have a footprint of 2 million square feet and provide over 2 million square feet of combined office and aircraft manufacturing and assembly space. The 2M plant is designed to manufacture 3 or more Stavati aircraft models simultaneously under one roof and could serve as headquarters to Stavati Aerospace. Groundbreaking on the iconic 2M plant is planned for 2024-2028. They've begun the site selection process, friends. Yeah, so here's where it gets interesting. Stavati Corporation has been around since 1994. So since 1994, they've been making all kinds of pie-in-the-sky promises about super advanced technology that they are developing, and they have yet to develop a single thing. That means that they have been promising super advanced technology for 28 years and haven't been able to pull anything off yet. And you see, friends, this is how it gets real dicey. They established Stavati Corporation in 1994. Then we've got Stavati Aerospace Ltd. established in 2014. Stavati Industries in 2016. Stavati Europe, Stavati Ukraine. Oh, that's got to be going great. They've got a company in Ukraine right now. That's got to be great for investors. Sure, you should invest in a company in Ukraine right now. You know, this is so childish and stupid. Why would anybody invest in a company that's putting money into Ukraine right now? Makes no sense. This makes absolutely no sense, friends. Makes no sense. And here's their company organizational. Here's their leadership, shareholders, board of directors, president, CEO, vice president, COO, CFO, CTO. They've got all these people. Who's paying all these people? How are they paying all these people? Are they paying all these people out of David Wilcock's $1 million investment? Oh, distinct core values, revenue creation. They have yet to create any revenue since 1994, but that's one of their values, right? Mission focus, customer success. They haven't had any customers since 1994, near as I can tell, but they're going to build hover cars and spaceships and fusion-powered interstellar spacecraft. New aircraft development programs are funded by internal resources of Stavati Aerospace and strategic investment partners through equity and debt financing, as well as a combination of sources. Yeah. Each aircraft program is typically structured as a standalone joint venture company owned by, so it's a Ponzi scheme. To me, it appears to be a Ponzi scheme. Oh, look, more pretty pictures of computer generated graphics of airplanes that don't exist, right? Oh, gosh. Extensive flight and operational testing to achieve military qualification or FAA type and production certification. Military aircraft will be flight tested at Airport Flight Test Center, Edwards Air Force Base. You know what? We're going to call the United States Air Force and see if they have any permission to flight test their so-called prototypes that don't exist. I think this is another pie-in-the-sky garbage promise to investors. They have not even gotten permission yet. They're also going to be using China Lake will be employed throughout the Stavati weapons system testing effort. They're going to be testing weapons at China Lake. No, friends, no. This is garbage. Full contractor logistical support of comprehensive aerospace defense enterprises. Stavati has registered with the State Department of Defense Trade Controls as a manufacturer and exporter of U.S. munitions. So I guess they did that much. But where's the weapons? Can we see some of them? You're saying you got 30-millimeter cannons you're strapping on your prototypes. Where's the cannons? Can we at least see the cannons? They have pretty pictures of cannons. Contact Stavati today. You too can invest. And that's what we've got for you, friends. This is absolute garbage. And you know what? I hate to be glad for someone else's misfortune, but considering David Wilcock has scammed so many people in the UFO community out of money, for one, I'm glad that he invested $1 million with this shady company because he's going to lose every penny. And by the way, we have heard here that his wife left him because of that. He gave all their money to this shady company. And that's a real problem. Yeah, so if we will check in with our supporters here, just so everybody is aware. We read and thank every single super chatter and PayPal pledger, new members. We call out and thank. If you become a new member, you can become a Patreon supporter and get some extra content. That's $1 a month, and to become a channel member is $5 a month. You get all the Patreon links and benefits plus more. Okay, so we're going to check in with the super chatters. One second here. Okay, we had Lord Ludicrous, so we've already done that. Let's check in with the PayPal pledgers. We want to thank each and every one of you kind and generous benefactors. It's due to your kindness, generosity, and support that we can bring you the real truth behind some of this stuff. Okay, one second here. We do have a PayPal pledge from Christopher, a kind and generous $10 PayPal pledge. So we thank you for your kindness, generosity, and your support. It is much, much appreciated. Anyone else feeling generous, you can use the super chat or the PayPal buttons that are in the description of the video to throw a couple of bucks in our hat. Otherwise, we'll take some comments and questions from the live chat. And yeah. Elegant Pause 1 says, Wilcock is a conscious scam artist. I also suspect the lift does not go all the way to the top. Yeah, I used to think that he was just a really intelligent scammer. But the more I observe him, I think he's stupid as shit. That's what I think. He is really dumb and believes anybody that comes to him talking about aliens or secret space program. He just believes them. And then he does not vet any of them. He doesn't check their claims of education or work history. He just runs with their fake alien stories because he can make money from it, right? Mark D. Truthseeker says, I think Wilcock isn't smart enough to stay out of prison like Greer and Linda Moulton Howe. One day he is going to slip. Well, he's already, to the best of my knowledge, in trouble with the IRS for unpaid taxes. And then there's that whole charity debacle. He's going to have to explain where all that charity money went. He's doing a terrible job trying to spend it all on himself when it's supposed to be going to charitable use. Elegant Pause says Dolan is a mess and a cross between a libertarian and a right-wing fascist. Oh, by the way, I neglected to talk about yesterday's story, and many people would like me to, so here's my 2 cents. Since we broke the story yesterday, by the way, another exclusive story yesterday from Truth Seekers here on the fact that KGRA, the Paranormal Show Network, has a child rapist and convicted pedophile as their program director, there has been an awful lot of fallout. And I have been under, I have dealt with a lot of garbage people today. And just as I always say, what happens when we catch these slimy UFO celebrities doing slimy things? What happens when we have facts and evidence and dead to right can prove that they're doing slimy things? Out come the nameless, faceless, new Twitter accounts to attack me, to tell everybody how wrong I am, to muddy the waters, and more. But remember, we have a defense for that now, and that would be stop the op. And here's how we stop the op. When we catch UFO celebrities doing slimy things, like working with and for convicted child rapists, and those nameless, faceless Twitter accounts start coming at us to muddy the waters, tell everybody how wrong I am. Here's the issue. The issue I'm getting attacked for is I said that my sources believe that all the people working at KGRA were aware that they were working with and for a convicted child rapist. That's what my sources told me. But because I didn't name the sources, I'm just making up things, right? And everybody knows how I feel about anonymous sources. But in this circumstance, you can understand this dirty shit involving a convicted child rapist. People don't want their names associated with that. So people came to me in confidence and told me some things about that situation. And, you know, friends, so this is what we do. When confronted by the nameless, faceless cowards that are defending UFO celebrities working with and for convicted child rapists. That's what they're defending. Isn't this great? What moral and ethical, wonderful people will come on Twitter and attack me and defend people's right to work with and for convicted child rapists while they're running shows where they're telling people we're going to get to the truth about those aliens, right? We're going to bring you the truth about those aliens, but we're just not going to tell you that while we're doing all this, we're working with and for convicted child rapists, friends. So I use my graphic, and this is how we stop the op. Why am I under attack? Did I work for convicted child rapists? Did I hide from my audience the fact that my network that my show is on is being run by convicted child rapists? No. I told people the truth. And for that, I get attacked, belittled, harassed, threatened, intimidated by nameless, faceless cowards hiding behind sock puppet accounts on Twitter. But it's okay, because we show this graphic. I have adopted a policy of not engaging with nameless, faceless Twitter accounts. If these UFO celebrities working for child rapists want to muddy the waters and defend themselves, let them do it with their own names. Let them do it with their own faces, not, my friends, with nameless, faceless Twitter accounts that are all anonymous. And isn't it great that the only people willing to defend these despicable people working for child rapists is nameless, faceless, anonymous accounts? But it's okay. Now I'm just going to post the graphics, but I did fall into it and didn't realize I was conversing with one of the nameless, faceless idiots defending. And let's be clear, they were defending UFO celebrities working for child rapists. And I'm the bad guy. And their argument was there's no proof that they knew they were working for child rapists. And by the way, in at least a few cases, I am aware of 2 specific shows on that network that did not know. And those would be Jesse, MUFON Jesse. He didn't know. He had no idea. And Lou from Unidentified Celebrity Review. Those 2 guys, I'm sure, based on sources and other available information, they didn't know that they were involved with that. So they get a pass. And they should. They didn't know. If you didn't know you're working for convicted child rapist, convicted pedophile, violent child-related sexual predator, then it's not your fault. But we have information that these UFO celebrities, the bigger names, did know. And besides the sources who told me that they knew, there is other substantial and supportive evidence that they knew or they should have known. Because there are public posts about this convicted child rapist that go back to 2016. And those posts were, I'm told, a big uproar for a little while, but then it all got swept under the rug. So about those UFO celebrities that were working at KGRA at the time that those posts in 2016 were made, everybody heard about that. So those UFO celebrities either knew or they should have known that they were working with a convicted child sexual predator, a violent child sexual predator. But it gets worse, friends. It gets so much worse because it would appear that KGRA knowingly hired a convicted child rapist. And we have proof of that. We have proof that KGRA knew that they were hiring a convicted child rapist. And then admitted it and defended hiring a convicted child rapist. And you may be interested to know that the person who hired the convicted child rapist is the person who Jimmy Church is now working with from KUNX. That, my friends, is the person who knowingly hired a convicted child rapist to be a producer, to be a program director, or whatever. And I would just submit to you that I guess we all have to make our choices. Myself, I would not work with or for a convicted pedophile, not knowingly. And additionally, I would not work with or for someone who would hire a convicted pedophile knowingly. And this, my friends, is where it gets dirty and slimy. So what we've got is the guy who runs KUNX knowingly hired a convicted pedophile. He knew that he was a child rapist, and he hired him anyway. And then we get all of the UFO celebrities working at KGRA. So far, none of them have commented, except for the few that I'm aware that didn't have any idea. And, I have sympathy for them. It's not their fault. They didn't know. So we've got all these UFO celebrities that worked knowingly for the convicted pedophile squad, right? Well, that's not maybe a fair characterization. Anyway, I'm going to share something, and this is for the benefit of the idiots that are defending the UFO celebrities working with and for a convicted child rapist. And let me remind everyone that Jimmy Church left KGRA in October of 2021, right after I put Jimmy Church and Richard Dolan on blast for working for J3 Films, who was at the time and is still right now promoting and profiting from a film about a kiddie porn collector, Stanley Romanek. Look it up. The Stanley Romanek story. It was produced by J3 Films. And apparently, Jimmy Church and Richard Dolan, who had to be aware by this time that J3 Films produced a documentary about a kiddie porn collector in the form of Stanley Romanek, who got arrested and convicted and is now serving jail time for collecting kiddie porn. And by the way, that lovely man tried to blame it on his son, why there was all that kiddie porn on all of his computers. He also, during the court proceedings, tried to blame the Men in Black. You know, the Men in Black put the kiddie porn on all his computers in his house because he was getting too close to the truth about aliens. So there's the timeline for you. Right around September, I believe, to the best of my recollection, you know, we did a show talking about how Jimmy Church and Richard Dolan were working for a company that was profiting from and promoting a documentary about a kiddie porn collector. At that time, Jimmy Church was working for KGRA, working with them, with and for a convicted child rapist. And then in October, after the news that Jimmy Church is working for J3 Films, who was promoting and profiting from a documentary about a kiddie porn collector. Now, again, it's not really, the documentary is not about a kiddie porn collector, but instead of taking that film down when the subject of their film, Stan Romanek, got busted, arrested, and convicted for being in possession of hordes of child pornography, they didn't take that film down. No, they kept promoting it and profiting from it. And to this day, you can go on J3 Films and they still list that film like they're proud of the documentary they produced about who we now know is a despicable kiddie porn aficionado. And Jimmy Church and David Wilcock and others worked for the same company, J3 Films. And Jimmy Church and Richard Dolan worked for the company KGRA, who knowingly hired a child rapist. How do I know that they knew they were hiring a child rapist? Because the person who hired him defended his hiring of a child rapist. And this is from Race Hobbs, who is the head of programming at the time of KGRA Digital Media. And in this post, he says, "This is one of the many personal attacks against me, not Bill, as Jeff has found himself over and over again at the bottom of that has levied against me in KGRA Digital Broadcasting." And by the way, everything to my knowledge that this person, Jeff, said about them was true. He said that they were employing a child rapist. And anyone can check the public records. We shared them on last night's show. This Mr. Hobbs, Race Hobbs, it's a fact, knowingly and willingly hired a convicted child rapist, a man who is a violent sexual predator who raped a 13-year-old boy. He knew about the case. He knew the specifics of the case, and he hired this man anyway. I wanted to go on the record regarding Bill, his arrest record, and his position here with KGRA. When we put out the word that we were looking for intern producers, Bill Forte was among the few that responded with the equipment and the background requirements needed for the position. I love that. You know, listen, I needed a producer, and yeah, that guy raped a 13-year-old boy, and he's a violent sexual predator who was also convicted for being in possession of child pornography, but we needed a producer, and William Forte, the child rapist, was among the few that responded, and he had the equipment and the background requirements needed for the position. Well, I would submit to anyone within the sound of my voice that no matter how bad you need a producer or any employee, maybe, just maybe, if you have a choice between hiring no one and hiring a convicted child rapist who's also convicted of being in possession of child pornography, you should hire no one and just wait until you can find a non-child rapist with the right equipment and background requirements needed for the position. This Race Hobbs goes on to say, I want it to be known that the first thing Bill made me aware of was his arrest record. So there we have the proof that the people at KGRA that hired the child rapist knew of his arrest record. They knew he was a child rapist. They hired him anyway. The specific charge he was arrested for and the details of the case. Could you imagine that job interview? Hi, Race Hobbs. My name is William Forte, and I heard you need a producer for your paranormal radio network, your podcast network. I just want to let you know before we continue with the interview that I raped a 13-year-old boy. But don't worry, I've got the equipment that this position needs. So let's continue. Why would Race Hobbs just continue with an interview of a child rapist? This is the disgusting, deplorable nature of these UFO profiteers. They don't care about morality. They don't care about ethics, and they don't care about the truth. They care about those almighty UFO dollars. I asked him for further details, then ended the phone call with him and began my own research with the information he provided. After several days of inquiry, I found everything Bill told me to be completely accurate. I then reached, it was accurate. He told you that he got arrested and convicted and did 5 years in jail for raping a 13-year-old boy, and then you called him back and gave him a job. Congratulations, you slime ball. I then reached out to Bill by phone to follow up conversation and asked Bill if he could provide us with copies of his paperwork regarding this case, and he agreed to do so. So Race Hobbs not only was told, hi, I'm a child rapist and I'm applying for the job you have, and let him apply anyway and gave him the job, Race Hobbs got copies of the court records detailing the violent rape of a 13-year-old boy by this man, and he gave him a job anyway. Since coming to KGRA, Bill's work has been exemplary. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead. After reviewing the information I received and talking it over with many hosts and staff here at the station, this means that Race Hobbs had to talk this over with the people that they were hosting on KGRA. He talked over hiring a child rapist with many hosts and staff here at the station. And apparently, those hosts and staff at that KGRA that he talked to said, sure, we're okay with you hiring a violent child-related sexual predator. And then Race Hobbs made the decision to reach out to Bill and begin the interview process for the open position they had advertised. Great. So this person, who, by the way, now runs Jimmy Church's network, Race Hobbs, was the head of programming. He needs producers. He puts out an ad or something for producers. A child rapist comes to him and is actually honest and says, by the way, I'm a convicted child rapist. I did 5 years in prison for for raping a 13-year-old boy and being in possession of child pornography. Then this Race Hobbs goes to other hosts and staff here at the station and talks over the child rapist with the hosts and staff here at the station. And by the way, I know how to use Wayback Machine, and we can see who all the hosts and staff were at that station at the time of this post, which is October of 2016, right? And Race Hobbs, why don't you name the hosts and staff at the station that were okay with you hiring a child rapist so that we know who kept their mouth shut about you hiring a child rapist? Why don't you tell us which hosts and staff here at that station you talked over hiring a child rapist with before you made the decision to reach out to Bill and begin the interview process. Bill was found to have all the tools and talent necessary to handle the position. Yeah, great. So look, man, we need somebody with the tools and talent necessary to handle this position. So the only applicant we got was a child rapist. I talked it over with the hosts and the staff here at the station, and apparently the hosts and the staff were perfectly fine with me hiring a convicted pedophile. So then the convicted child rapist was brought on with the KGRA intern staff as an associate producer beginning 9/20/2016. And by the way, this is October 8th, 2016. So as soon as they hired the child rapist, somebody alerted the UFO community and they didn't care. They defended their position for hiring a child rapist. Right after they hired the child rapist, here they are, just a few weeks later, defending hiring the child rapist. And right here in this text, we get to see that Race Hobbs talked to the hosts, the show hosts at KGRA and the staff, and then made the decision to hire the child rapist. And since coming to KGRA, Bill's work has been exemplary. He completes every task asked of him, and his work performance is top-notch. Great. Great. I'm glad that you got such good work. You know, that child rapist that you hired has such good work ethics, right? All right. So for those people who are attacking me on Twitter saying there's no evidence that the hosts and the UFO celebrities on that network knew that they hired a child rapist, yeah, they knew. There's your proof. Besides the multiple sources that I have talked to, that, yeah, they don't want to be named in a story involving child rapists. Imagine that. People don't want their names associated with a story involving child rapists. But it gets even better because, like I said, we have to look at this timeline. So Jimmy Church leaves KGRA right after we did a story outlining how he and Richard Dolan were working for J3 Films, who also apparently employed a pedophile. Right after that, he leaves KGRA to start his own sort of network. But who did he leave KGRA with? And who started that new network of Jimmy Church's? Well, Jimmy Church and Race Hobbs started that network. The person who hired a child rapist at KGRA went right after Jimmy Church worked for a company that was profiting from a known kiddie porn collector. Jimmy Church and Race Hobbs go and start KUNX. And there's other people on there on KUNX that I'm not going to name because I believe some of them may be victims and not be aware of this whole disgusting story. But here's what we get. We get a man that's willing to hire a convicted pedophile, even defend his right to hire child rapists, who says in a public post that he talked to the hosts before making the decision to hire the child rapist. And this was all, friends, known. Then it all got swept under the rug so everybody could make those UFO dollars since 2016. Great. Really. And of course, people are attacking me left, right, and center. And we are going to share some other things that are very, very disturbing because shortly after our broadcast about this disgusting story involving KGRA knowingly hiring child rapists to be producers, program directors, or whatever, and right after we aired our story about all these UFO celebrities who are working with child rapists, the cover-up began. It worked in 2016. This came out in 2016. They didn't fire the child rapist. They defended their right to hire a child rapist. And not only did they defend their right to hire a child rapist, but right after our story aired, the cover-up began. And thanks to B. Baker, who went in their KGRA's live chat and asked some important questions. And this, by the way, was a live stream from law enforcement professionals. And B. Baker, asks, will there be a search warrant for Bill Forte, a.k.a. Bill Skywatcher? He was convicted of being a violent pedophile with a 13-year-old boy, and everyone at KGRA knows and is seemingly okay with. Comments? ? B. Baker. 12 minutes later, and no response from a bunch of seeming law enforcement professionals. Right after somebody asked them about the child rapists working with and for them, KGRA turned on subscribers only mode. And only channel subscribers of 24 hours or longer can send messages in their live chat. What does that tell you, friends? They don't want you asking questions about the child rapist they have working for them, about their decision to employ a child rapist. And the UFO celebrities especially don't want to talk about working with and for a child rapist at KGRA. They don't want to talk about that. None of them want to talk about that. And I got attacked pretty good today. I got to give it to those nameless, faceless cowards on Twitter that attack me with anonymous names and do not share their name because they're cowards. And by the way, of course, I would assume that you don't want to go on Twitter with your real name and face and defend a bunch of UFO celebrities working with and for child rapists. So you got to do it anonymously. And why is it only anonymous, nameless, faceless accounts that are defending these slimeball UFO celebrities who are working with pedophiles? And it appears from all available evidence, knowingly working with pedophiles. So here's one example. I deleted the rest of them. I killed the replies. I don't want that kind of ugliness in my life, but I did save one just to display to my audience that I get to now. And by the way, I have a feeling I might know who this nameless, faceless account is. Yeah, so a nameless, faceless Twitter user says, ready? I heard your mom gets banged by preteens on the regular. Anonymous source, though. Sorry. Should we use her not responding to that as proof it happens? Right? And we have Mr. Buck. It's not even original or funny of a troll either. Just sounds like what QAnon types do if you show them reality. Geez, it gets worse every day. Somebody said he has a point, and I reminded them it's been public knowledge that the guy was a child rapist since at least 2016. There are posts about it from 2016, and it was covered up and swept under the rug. There is more than just sources saying, sources that don't want to be named, telling me that people knew they were working with and for a child rapist. Somebody that asked who. Yeah. This is the kind of stuff that you can expect when you point out that maybe, just maybe, UFO celebrities shouldn't be working for child rapists or working with child rapists or hiring child rapists to work with UFO celebrities. If you do that, people will tell you that your mom gets banged by preteens on the regular. And then it came from an anonymous source. Man, where did we hear that before? This is kind of like somebody saying that Rather Be Squidding's mom is a hooker, right? Now my mom's getting banged by preteens. And by the way, if I wanted to play the victim, my mother's been dead for a long time, right? Can you pick a better, thing to do than to run around telling people that my dearly departed mother is getting banged by preteens, right? And what is this guy's problem? This guy's problem was that I repeated what was told to me by my sources who wish to remain anonymous, since this story involved convicted pedophiles and child rapists. Maybe, just maybe, most people listening to this can understand why when people are giving you information about a child rapist story, they don't really want their name mentioned in the story. But this person is arguing that all I have is anonymous sources. No, you dummy. No, you idiot. And by the way, I would bet my house that this jerk off is one of those UFO celebrities, because who else would defend UFO celebrities working with a child rapist except one of them? They're butthurt. They don't want this truth getting out. And I mentioned that the cover-up of this story began today. I suppose I have a choice to make, because, I'm going to say this in general terms. I was in a Facebook group with a certain UFO celebrity, and he or she kindly would always let me post my live streams in their Facebook group for their show that has something like 5,000 members of that group. And for a long time now, they've let me post my shows in that group, which I consider to be a very kind and generous thing to do. They have a group with 5,000 people that are interested in this topic. I would post my live streams every day, and they let me for a long time now. I posted this story in their Facebook group, and suddenly they censored us here at Truth Seekers. Suddenly they deleted every post of a Truth Seeker show in their Facebook group. Now, I'm not going to get too conspiratorial, but that person who censored our post about this child rapist story also has their show on KGRA. They gave me some bullshit excuse about why they deleted all of my posts. But I don't think it's a coincidence, friends, that they were perfectly willing to allow me to post all the Truth Seeker shows in their group right up until the part where I posted a show that showed evidence and proof that they were working for and with a child rapist at KGRA. As soon as I posted that, and by the way, in all honesty, I did not know at the time I posted that story to their group that show host had his show on KGRA. But as soon as I posted that story, all the Truth Seeker shows were deleted from that group. They gave us a bullshit excuse for why that happened. Like, I can't put two and two together. So the cover-up has already begun. These UFO celebrities on KGRA don't want to talk about the fact that they're working with and for a child rapist. They don't want to talk about the fact that this was known since at least 2016, and we have proof about it. Those UFO celebrities don't want to talk about the fact that this person, friends, they don't want to talk about how Race Hobbs, while he was the head of programming, knowingly hired a child rapist. Talk to the other show hosts at the network who apparently must have been okay with them hiring a child rapist, because then he hired the child rapist after talking to the show hosts there, according to his own words and admission. And then, of course, Race Hobbs, they don't want to talk about Race Hobbs defending them hiring a child rapist. They don't want to talk about how they don't want to comment on working with and for a child rapist. No, What they want to do is sweep this whole story under the rug. They want to censor anyone's ability to ask them questions about it. But we cannot let them. We cannot let this happen, friends. So I would ask you to do me the favor. And what we're going to do here is I am going to copy the show which details the pedo paranormal producer and program director. I'm going to take that and put the link to that show in our live chat. You always hear me occasionally, not always, hear me ask, some would say beg, that you copy our show links on your social media page. But in this case, I believe that this is the most important show I've ever asked people to share, because UFO celebrities who are working with and for child rapists who were knowingly hired by the group, they knowingly hired a child rapist, are right now trying to censor our show here. They are right now trying to silence our voice. And by the way, this is all facts. This is all the truth. We have the evidence. We have the receipts here. And these idiots that claim they're bringing people the truth about those aliens, sure, they're bringing us the truth, except when it involves them all working for child rapists. Then they don't want anybody to know about that truth. So I am going to, one second, I have to go to our actual live chat to share a link. So I'm going to do that right now. Then we'll have time for some comments and questions from the live chat. Please share this link and show on your social media. Please don't let people sweep this all under the rug. This is terrible. Oh, there we go. Default view. 1 second. It was swept under the rug before. Don't let them silence our voices here, friends. Send them a message that it's not okay to censor people that are telling the truth about this situation. It's not okay to delete our posts in Facebook groups because you work for a company that knowingly hired child rapists and even defended their right to employ child rapists. Send a message to these UFO celebrities by posting this show on your social media. And by the way, when I get a chance, we'll clip out the end portion of this show, which is sort of the update to this disgusting story. And I will ask you again to share that. Arlene Atkins is here. So now we'll take some comments and questions from the live chat. And by the way, to everybody who reached out to me offering their support, saying you're doing the right thing, Stephen, thanks for telling us the truth. I love and honor all of you, because this is not an easy thing to do. I got hammered all day by anonymous, stupid Twitter accounts. For what? For telling people the truth about their UFO celebrity heroes that are working for child predators. Arlene Atkinzel says, hiding the knowledge of a child predator is the same as enabling them. I have to say, I agree with you 100%. Who is Skeptic Believer? At one point, I thought he was Sean Cahill's sock account, but I don't think he has a connection with KGRA to be him now. Kepsa, I don't know, but when you come at me on Twitter and suggest that my mother, my dead mother, is getting gangbanged by teenagers, then you get blocked. I have been polite to him, even answered his questions, even though I can show you a list of tweets. Pardon me. That account has always been very nasty to me. But I let people be nasty to a certain point before I remove them delete them from my existence. That account is a brand new Twitter account. No name, no face, brand new account. And all that account does is defend UFO celebrities when they get caught selling bullshit. He defended Ross Coulthart when we did the story about him lying to everybody, claiming that his new documentary piece had conclusive proof of alien technology, all confirmed by Michio Kaku. He defended that. I'm sure he defended Richard Dolan and others. When we went after Jimmy Church for knowingly platforming this fake doctor with the alien in the freezer that was so hokey it was ridiculous, he defended that guy. So this is obviously one of the UFO celebrities, or somebody who's a UFO celebrity ass licker, whoever he is, because nobody defends people caught dead to rights lying through their teeth with their real names and their real faces. It's always nameless, faceless Twitter accounts. And by the way, I checked in and he's having a fit, whoever the guy is, like, oh, Steve Campion is lying to everyone. No, you asshole. I told the truth. Your UFO celebrity friends are lying to everyone. Or at the very least, a lie by omission. Hi, friends. Thanks for tuning in to our paranormal UFO show on KGRA. We're going to bring you the truth about aliens. We're just going to forget to tell you that the guy helping us bring you this truth is a child rapist and a convicted kiddie porn collector. Great. Great. Cosmic Neighbors believes that it's Lou Elizondo, which would make a lot of sense. It could be. Well, see, this is the problem. The comparison is just too similar to Faceless Bureaucrat. Yeah. This coming Tuesday is Steven's 100th day of not getting hammered. Well, thank you for recognizing that, Craig William, and that is if I make it. We got to tell you, something about this story made me want to drink myself into oblivion, but I didn't, and I won't. Used to be that when a story, I have talked to some real journalists, newspaper writers that are always chasing the next story, and a lot of them are heavy drinkers. And I used to not understand why. I thought, well, that's my dream job. But now I understand. These stories, you've got to absorb all of this nastiness, right? This disgusting, deplorable human behavior. You absorb it in order to tell the story. And it's pretty taxing, I think, right? B. Baker, allegedly folks that do things like this sometimes run together and cover for each other. Would not surprise me. When you walk into a toilet and someone didn't flush, that's how I feel about ufology right now. David Gosling, I agree with you 100%. That's exactly how I feel about it too. There are two ways to be fooled. One is to believe what isn't true, and the other is to refuse to believe what is true. Yeah. M. Stone says writers drink usually. Yeah. It's a way to reset yourself after absorbing all of that dark side of human behavior. You kind of drink yourself into a coma and reset for the next time you have to do that. We're going to try to do some lighter shows that are not so dark side here, right? Al Warrior says, exposing the truth, undisclosed Cambion files. Yeah, by the way, all of you UFO celebrities that are working for a child rapist, I'm putting your names in my book and you can sue me. And by the way, I tried to get comment from the bigger names today. Nobody wanted to talk about working with and for a child rapist. Imagine that. Imagine that. Nobody wanted to comment on it. And by the way, I think it's their responsibility to comment on it. After all, they've made money all these years working since 2016 with a child rapist. They've made money. Why can't they talk about working with the child rapist? Did they know they were working with the child rapist? And by the way, now that they found out, are they going to leave their show on a network that employs child rapists and pedophiles and kitty porn collectors? I know what I think they're going to do. It depends on what kind of money they're making over there. And by the way, I'm told by someone that the younger up-and-coming show hosts don't even get paid to be on that network. So I don't know what their business model is or how this works, but I'm pretty sure that the big-name UFO celebrities are not giving all their content to this organization without getting some money for their content. But that is a question that I will certainly ask. I will be emailing everybody that I could think of that's on that network and asking some important questions. 1, did you know you were working with a child rapist? 2, did you know that that organization knowingly hired the child rapist? 3, were you one of the hosts that the person who hired the child rapist talked to and okayed the hiring of a child rapist? 4, if you didn't know that you were working with and for a child rapist, now that you know, are you going to remove your show from that network, or are you going to leave it there? These are simple questions that I think they should really ask, right? You know, a civil lawsuit would be a way to get all the ugly facts and names into the general public, not just ufology. Yeah, Kurt J should take on this one. I think he's a little busy, right? It didn't work for the Epstein case. Yeah, we never got that list, right? Steven, they're mad because they're worried about their profits. Hang in there. Yeah, and I know one of the reasons I'm getting attacked so viciously today is because I just hit them in their wallet. And now some of them or all of them might lose money because it's not good optics working for a company that has a pedophile as a program director, right? It's just not good optics. That Mika Hanks always struck me as a bit of a slicky boy. Take from that what you will. Not familiar with Mika Hanks, but we could see many UFO celebrities on there. And wouldn't you know, none of them want to talk about it. But that's not going to stop me from asking them for comment. And then I'm warning you all of you UFO celebrities working at KGRA or working with and for a child rapist, I'm going to email all of you and ask for comment about this story, especially the guy who deleted our posts in his Facebook group. And then if you refuse to comment, I'm going to name you and tell everybody and show them I emailed you and that you never replied. You didn't get back to me. And by the way, all of you UFO celebrities working over there for a child rapist, you better be careful with your public statements because maybe, just maybe, along with the conversations I had with my sources, I also got some other additional evidence like text messages and screenshots of private messages and emails. So maybe they all better be very careful what they say next. Your move, creep. Mysterious Oklahoma says accountability. Yeah. Keep praising the cash. Twigger. Yeah. So any more comments or questions for me, please put them in all capital letters. I am aware everybody's talking about this Jeremy McGowan piece. We didn't get to it tonight. I will get to it. I've got some gems of quotes I pulled from there. And isn't it great how where are the Lou Elizondo supporters when we hear that the disclosure hero is telling people not to tell anybody that he's sending UFO reports to the U.S. government? He's withholding information from the public. The disclosure savior, the guy who's going to bring us disclosure, is not telling the truth to the public, but he's telling the truth to the U.S. government. And I love that other quote. I still work. I never stopped working for the government. Great. Lou definitely effed up his money potential in the book. Why do you think he is swinging on Mellon's nuts? Yeah, because he's looking for the payday, and he lost the payday. And by the way, you know, people could say whatever they want to say if I don't name the source, but people have told me that Lou Elizondo's pissed about how much money people like James Fox are making and other UFO celebrities are making, and he's not making any money on this. And I think that his book deal may be gone. That's what I think. We're going to try to get more information on that. What happened to the book? It's supposed to be out in April, right? It's September. April, May, June, July, September. It's 5 months late. 5 months late. But wouldn't you know it? I guess all that damage control he tried, like rebranding himself instead of the director of ATIP, he rebranded himself to be the Pentagon UAP portfolio manager. And people laughed at that because it's a made-up fake term, just like the director of the imaginary program. And now, thanks to Jeremy McGowan, we get to hear that Lou Elizondo is running around telling everybody he has superpowers. That's right. He's got superpowers. And he lied and said that he was a 33rd degree Mason, which isn't real, friends. It's not real. You got to love it. Lou Elizondo's whole story is falling apart. And I hate to say I told you so, but I will. You know, I cautioned everybody as soon as TTSA came out with all those CIA people, like, this is not what it appears to be. And this Lou Elizondo is probably just another UFO profiteer. He just hasn't really tried to cash in yet, but he will. And he did, like all of them. And it didn't work out so well for him. Torvik says his book got delayed. The reasoning is classified. He can't talk about it. Sure. Patty Wilhelm says the knowledge of the truth will set you free. Yeah. And Mario's Taco is here and says Taco. Is it Mario's Taco? Is that how I say that? I always worry that I'm saying your name wrong, Mario, so I apologize. But I'm happy to see you. He says it's all about the money at the end of the day, right? Yeah, who cares if you're working for child rapists? Who cares if the company you work for is knowingly hiring pedophiles and kiddie porn collectors that spent 5 years in jail for raping a 13-year-old boy? As long as you're making money, who cares? It's about the money. Take Taco like taco. Okay. All right. I'll call you Mario's Taco then. It just feels funny to call somebody a taco. You know, in the United States, you know what a taco is, right? Well, obviously you wrote it. Yeah. You always make me think of tacos too. Every time I see you, I get hungry for Taco Bell. Yeah. So, listen, this is all we got for you. I'm going to try to reschedule with Matthew Riot. I'm sorry, but he had to reschedule at the last minute. But the good news is we've always got a few shows in the pipeline. So, you know, no worries. I my best to Matthew Riot, and, you know, no worries about rescheduling. We'll reschedule it. People were anxious to hear him come here, and I hope that we'll reschedule it as soon as possible. We've already got an amazing thumbnail. We got to use it, Matthew Riot. So, yeah. Martin Wright says, I don't care how much they rattle their maracas at me. I'm not paying $1,200 in Spain to listen to bull. Yeah, well, that's what it is, man. Hey, you also get some water bottles for your $1,200 and a hotel room, and you get to meet and greet UFO frauds like Linda Moulton Howe and Jaime Maussan, the king of hoaxes, and Christopher Mellon, who's telling people wackadoo stories right now with no evidence or proof, right? And I love it. Disclosure never came, so people are now the new talking point is we don't need the government. Disclosure is already here. We know it. Okay, if you say so, right? Just such bullshit. And, you know, we have to pivot away from this ugliness, right? So actually, I have something really fun and funny to share. I'm going to make a separate video just about this thing I have to share. But Matthew Wright and I, tonight we were supposed to talk about how ridiculous the UFO community has become, and it has. And what passes for evidence or proof when people start making claims about alien technology or being in possession of alien artifacts or technology is so goddamn ridiculous. It's just funny. And boy, have I found a perfect example of that, because there is a doctor who is in possession, my friends, of something called a nimbus. Wait, let me do this again because I might be able to clip this. This is a Truth Seekers exclusive breaking news story. Apparently, there is a doctor who is in possession of alien technology. He calls the device a nimbus, and it allows him to vanish and disappear at will, friends. When asked for proof of this incredible alien technology, the doctor provided a video. This incredible, startling proof of alien technology on Earth, which was given to him by aliens from Saturn, is now an exclusive Truth Seeker story. This, my friends, is the incredible story of the Nimbus, alien artifact on Earth, and its possessor, the great doctor, displayed this incredible alien technology. We here at Truth Seekers now can show you the incredible proof of alien technology on Earth, friends. Here it is.
So
I'm trying to find this video, this YouTube, and share it.
and I mean, it was just in an office in West Virginia, and a student was visiting and had a video camera and took pictures of me, a motion picture of me, and that's it. So there's no props or anything like that.
But it was just for a little. It was just a little experiment or a little show, right? I mean, it wasn't not for a specific person. It was just for a specific purpose. It was just for fun, right?
Yes, it was just for fun and just to
demonstrate how this.
To demonstrate the some of the concepts in the book, and that's it.
That's it. Okay, I'm fine. I'm going to find it and I'm going to share it now.
There we have it, friends. The Cosmic Ray, Dr. Raymond Keller, bringing us incredible proof of alien technology now on Earth. The incredible alien artifact he calls the Nimbus allows him to vanish and disappear at will. And we have just shown you exclusive, conclusive proof of that alien technology on Earth. This is where we're at. This, my friends, is how ridiculous this nonsense, this world of aliens and UFOs has become. And I don't even know what to say about that clip, but I will say this: the laser, the swirling light effect that he used, I have one of those. It's a laser DJ party light that you can get on Amazon for $20. This passes for proof of alien technology to some people. And by the way, I did go through the comments of that video, and everybody was shocked and amazed at this incredible proof of alien technology, that this cosmic ray, Dr. Raymond Keller, who, by the way, has a lot of books about aliens from Saturn to sell you. This is what we have devolved into. There is no, Lou Elizondo talks about the serious search for scientific, data and all of this. This is a circus of stupidity. That's what this is. It is a circus of stupidity. And I question my involvement in this. Some time ago, I talked to a reporter who was talking to me about getting burnt out of the same beat. And he said, you got to do other stories. Or you will get burnt out. And yeah, I feel like I'm getting burnt out because, oh, and by the way, just today on Twitter, someone was commenting to me, Stephen, these shows about people that are liars are helpful because that helps us to separate who's credible and who's lying to us. But we really wish that you would get back to doing some shows that show the real truth and the real evidence about the UFOs and the aliens. And, I get that people want me to do that. Then you send me real proof and real evidence, because every story I look into, no matter how promising it may appear at first, we get to the inevitable big letdown. It's not my fault. I am reporting what the results of my research and investigation into the story is. It's not my fault that everybody's lying to you about aliens and UFOs. I'm just reporting to you what I found. And it seems like every story that I look into, with a few possible exceptions, like Roswell, is still in my gray basket. I have my own beliefs about what Roswell was. But other than that story, every story that I have researched and investigated really just falls apart under scrutiny. And certainly even parts of the Roswell mythos fall apart under scrutiny. There have been people that just made up fake stories about aliens and alien bodies and all kinds of stuff. There have been people that I thought told similar stories that are credible when it comes to Roswell, but I get it. People are asking me, Stephen, why don't you bring us stories that are true? Bring me some. I'd love to dig into a story that actually has evidence, that is actually, got evidence, and that may actually be true. Too much of these stories I look into, they fall apart under scrutiny. And I don't know what people want me to do. I get it. People want me to bring you, stories about aliens that may be true or are true. I'm trying my best here, but every story I look into, inevitably, we get to the part where the story falls apart. The sources aren't credible. Their education is fake. They didn't work where they said they worked, or whatever. A perfect example is Jonathan Reed. Boy, I would love to believe that's a true story, because except for the hokiness of his so-called evidence, it's a good story. Guy was out in the woods. They vaporized his dog. He hit an alien in the head with a big stick. He drug it home and put it in a freezer. Man, that's a great story. I would love that story to be true. And by the way, I just want to put on record that Dr. Jonathan Reed is greater than Jason Quitt. Okay? Dr. Jonathan Reed is better than Jason Quitt. All around. Just want to put that out there. I've been busting Jason Quitt's balls because Jason Quitt was just on Jimmy Church right after Dr. Jonathan Reed, and I busted his balls and said that, Dr. Jonathan Reed's stories are much better than his, because he's got an alien in his freezer and he's got an alien armband, and all Jason Quitt has is, some meditation exercises and shit, and stories about astral travel. Jonathan Reed is much better than Jason Quitt. Okay? Yeah. So I would like to bring you all stories about aliens that were true. I would like to believe aliens are here visiting us or have visited us. And those unaware, especially those that attack me, like, why do you think I'm here? I saw something when I was a child that I cannot explain. In my entire life, I've researched this topic. I want to know, what the hell did I see? Was it really aliens? I used to believe it was. Now, I'm not so sure, because all roads down the alien hypothesis lead to bullshit. And that's where I'm at, and that's where I find myself. I'm not going to lie to my audience just to have some story to tell. I'm not going to, I can't just do like everybody else and show you guys fake pictures of aliens and claim that they're real pictures of aliens. I'm not going to do that. That's not what we're about here. The show's called Truth Seekers. And if the truth that I find is that the story's not true, I'm going to report to you the story's not true. Yeah. So I'm glad that we could share with you this astonishing proof of alien technology. That's the best that we have. Garbage like that. Really? That's the best that we have? I guess it is, because I can't find anything better than that lately. By the way, I want to thank the Twitter user who sent that to me, whose name escapes me. I'm so sorry, but it was a few weeks ago. Somebody sent me that video and said, Stephen, you got to see this guy's proof of alien technology. If you thought Ross Coulthart was full of it, wait till you see this guy. And by the way, I'm reaching out to that guy I want to interview. We'll have some fun, right? Yeah. So that's all we got for you, friends. We're well over the 2-hour mark. I do have to also mention, somebody asked me, why is the audio podcast so far behind? Because it's behind. And I am going to be working until 5 o'clock in the morning tonight to try to get it all caught up. Generally, I have been busy with interviews and other things. Tomorrow I have a few conference calls to do. And an off-camera, off-air interviews to do concerning a really, really big story that we've been developing. And if you thought everybody in the UFO community, all these people in the UFO community working for a child rapist's story was shocking, wait till you hear the next one that we're bringing you. It's even worse, or better, depending on your point of view. If you like shocking stories, it's better. If it's horrific, it's worse than child rape. Yeah. And it involves many, many people in the UFO community. But it also, there's some legal issues there. So we have to be very careful in the development of that story. And I have reached out to everybody that I can think of to give me advice, because this has to be done. It's a really big story and it has to be done right. And we're going to be working on that. I've been working on some other things, which is why the audio podcast is behind. And by the way, I should remind you, if you're listening in audio podcast land, you're missing half the fun. We love and respect all of you over there listening to the audio podcast. The audio podcast, by the way, is growing, and more listeners are finding it. A lot of people prefer to just listen to the audio podcast if they're driving or working or doing something, and we provide that as a public service. But sometimes it's behind, and I apologize for that. But in any case, if you're listening to the audio podcast and you haven't yet, please do go on over to YouTube, put Truth Seekers, one word, in the search bar. When you see me, the strange guy with sunglasses, pop up, go to that channel, smash the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and you too will know when we're doing a live taping. And you can come over here. You can ask questions. You can communicate with other people interested in these strange and esoteric topics. And we welcome you to do that. We welcome skeptics, believers, people somewhere in between. Anywhere on the spectrum of weirdo you are most welcome here. So come on over to YouTube, find our Truth Seekers channel. It's in the description of all the audio podcasts, our link to our channel. But otherwise, just go to YouTube, put Truth Seekers, one word, you'll find us. Look for me with the sunglasses. Go there, smash the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Come on over here and become a subscriber and take part in the tapings of the podcast, which are all done live right here in our home base at our YouTube channel. Otherwise, I would like to remind all of you that besides throwing money at us, the other best way to support us is to like, comment, subscribe, and share these videos. It really does help. And I would especially like to ask you all to please share yesterday's broadcast, because people are trying to stop people from seeing that. People are trying to stop people from hearing about that. And I think that's wrong. I think people deserve the truth. And if you do too, share that video on your social media. Let's stop the op. Let's stop these cowardly individuals who would rather you didn't know that they're working for child rapists. Great. All right. So let me check in one last time with the live chat. Mario's Taco says, I need to take a nap. By the way, it's 6:20 in the morning here, but it was so fun. Thank you so much, Stephen. Well, thank you for losing some sleep to help me get viewers and watch time. I just much appreciate it. I need more people with insomnia in your country. So share our videos. Tell people to come and subscribe. I would appreciate it. Yes. People are mentioning they're crashing out. Yes, we went a little long tonight, as usual. I thought this was going to be a quick one, but we love and thank each and every one of you for joining us. I want to thank all of our kind and generous supporters. I want to thank all of the people who attend our live chat. I want to thank all of you guys chatting in Discord. By the way, B. Baker will share the link to the Discord, and you too can join us in the Discord and chat with like-minded people interested in these subjects, not only while we're doing a live broadcast, but also while we any time of the day, 24 hours, 7 days a week. I'm in there. So if you want to ask me a question when we're not broadcasting live, I check for questions in there. You are most welcome to join our Discord server. So that's all we got for you, friends. I'm going to bounce on out of here. I am right now on day 94 of not getting hammered every day. So today was a good day, and I thank you for sharing it with me. Until next time, friends, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you.